Well, good morning. This is Jacqueline with NikkelandDimeDecor. And, you know, I'm an estate sale person. I love to go, especially if I know they have fabric. And this one was nothing but fabric. And it was like going to a fabric store. But anyway, I didn't buy anything there because the prices were a little steep. But I bought this book. And it was worth going to the estate sale. 130 mini quilt blocks. Do you realize how much we can learn from this book? I have always wanted to do some of these blocks. This way, they're only 5 inches. You can take 3 little scraps and make this, and you know how to make that block. And if you ever find a pattern, big ones, you can do it. So my very first choice for us to make is a spool. I've always wanted to make that, always. And it's 3 fabrics. And like I say, 5 inches, just tiny, tiny. And the key to doing something tiny is to have a scant 1/4 inch. And I mean scant. If you have the ability to move your needle over, mine goes over to the right. I put it one step over. And then I know exactly where to put it on my plate of my sewing machine to get my scant 1/4 inch. And if your machine needle won't go over, then you're going to have to adjust on your plate where you're putting it. But a spool, of course, you've seen them in big, you know, in quilts, and they make them any size. But like I say, 5 inches. Now, here's an example. The spools, then they used this in their border, and they used this one in their border. So you can take them and mix them and match, and here's my plan. I am going to make about 5 different blocks, maybe 6 or 7, I don't know. And I am going to put a little jute rope on my mantle. And I have some little bitty tiny clothespins. And I'm going to pin my little 5-inch blocks. Now, they're not going to be 5 inch when I get through because I'm going to put a border around all of them. Even though they're all different, I'm going to put the same border around all of them. Okay, let me show you an example. This was my second one, actually. It's almost perfect. The points, you see the points right here? You have to get those to look like it's a spool. You have to do a pretty good job. And that's where your scant 1/4 inch comes in. Now, this was my first one, and I'll show you. Can you see which one is off? That one right there. It's just off. And why? I don't know. But I do know why. In the making this, I didn't press as I went along. I finger pressed. But you must press and open these seams. Open these up and press them open. It does a much better job if you will do that. Just press it open. And my plan is I'm going to put a black border around all of these. And I don't know whether 1.5 or 2 inch border, because it'll finish smaller, of course. And then they're going to come out probably to 6.5 blocks. And that's my plan. Now I want you to do it with me, okay? So here's our first block. And they suggest that you find fabric that looks like thread. Well, this was my only two options. I just couldn't find anything. Kind of has to be a weave, or, you know, I didn't have any horizontal stripes. So that's, I hope you can come up with more than I have so far, but I have one more, and that's, and see my two outside pieces right here. These are different. And just mix them and match, you know, mix them up. Have 3 fabrics, but don't do any of them the same. That's what I'm saying. Now this is a kind of a purple, and it's the same on my spools, but the rest of it is different. The centerpiece and the outside's different. Okay, now I'm going to put the camera down and show you. This is what I'm intending to make today. And I want you to see how little pieces there is. Just not much to this. This is 3.5 inch square. That's your biggest piece, okay? These are 1.5 inches by 3.5. And you're going to sew these together. Just like that. And I'm not worrying about which direction these things go. I just couldn't care less. All right, and we're going to sew this. And then we're going to press it open. And then you make your end pieces. And you go on the bottom. This is my bottom, it's your top. On the bottom piece, you go from the inner corner to the outer corner. Because when we press them, we'll trim that, and it's going to look like that. Okay? And then do the same to this. Sew there, put that up, and then you trim this to a 1/4 inch. And we'll do that here in a minute. On this one, on the your top, you do the opposite corner. You start from the outside to the inside, outside to the inside. And I'm drawing my lines so I don't get confused. And those tiny little squares are 1.5 inch squares. This piece is 5.5 inches long by 1.5. 5.5 by 1.5 and 1.5 inch squares. That's all your pieces. So write this down. A 3.5 inch square, a 1.5 by 3.5, 2 of them, 5.5 long, 1.5, 2 of them, and 4 1.5 inch squares. That's all there is to it. Okay, I am going to sew these together. You don't need to watch that. You know how to sew. I'm going to sew these together, and then I'm going to press them, and I'll show you what it looks like. Do something. When you're doing things this small, always have a beginner piece of fabric under your, and when you, especially when we're doing these, you can't just start sewing on that little bitty corner. It'll eat it up. So I want you to see that. And then when I am ready to sew, let's first get down there to it, okay? Put your fabric up to where you just stopped, okay? You've got your butting right up against that. And put it where you want it for your good 1/4 inch, and then start sewing. And it just makes the world of difference that you will be glad you did it. I guarantee you. I have my needle down also, and that helps a lot. And then you can just cut this, snip it right there, and put your piece back under there. Pull your threads, top thread out of the way. And you're ready to do your next piece. Now, I learned this the hard way in doing some flying geese. That helps so much. Now just go up to your fabric and stop before you get off of this piece, and then butt your fabric up there right to where you want it. And there's just no hitch to it. Now, if you'll see, I want you to see my 1/4 inch seam. See, that is what we call, oh, you can't see that. There, that is a scant 1/4 inch. Okay, now I'm going to just open up. First, I'm going to press to one side. Just touch it. Then I'm going to have my 5.5 inch piece, and I have it kind of at an angle so that my point is waiting right there for my stitch. Be sure and have this lined up. Perfect. All right, I'm going to sew till I get to the end. Then I'm going to scoot this up right there. Now I lost my other one in the shuffle. If that happens to you, just remember we're going inside to the outside. That'll keep you straight. Put your fabric back. This way, we're going to go on this side of it now so that our point is right there. Sew till you get to the end, and then butt that up, that line perfectly even. Now, when you have your needle down, you've got to manipulate your wheel over here so you can get your fabric up. All right. Now, we're going to press this down first before I trim it. Okay? Press it down. Press this one down. It's going to be just like that. This was our piece after I did the sides and I pressed it. Okay, this is pressed now. And I'm gonna, you know, I don't measure. I just trim. If it's, you know, if it's too much, it's okay. It doesn't matter. Just don't make it too little. That you'd regret. Got some dog ears I need to take off. Now this one I can tell wasn't done just real. See how I'm off just a little bit? But we're gonna try it. Okay, this is the bottom. This is the middle. And we're fixing to do the top. And you just go through the same process. These are going to be on this end, whereas these are up at the top. And these are at the bottom. So I drew my line from the outside to the inside. And I'm going to put my fabric in under there and sew these just like I did the others. Okay, I have to trim the bottom here. Haven't done that yet. Well, goodness sake. Do I need a new blade or what? Okay. Turned it. Okay, I haven't pressed this one yet. But there it is. And then we just sew this and sew this. So, when you press, remember, don't rub. Don't just iron and iron. Just lay your iron down very gently so you don't stretch it, because some of this is on the bias. Then you'll just flip this over, and sew the seams. And there is your spool. All right, I'm going to sew them, and we'll see how we did on our corners. Okay, here it is before it's pressed. And I'm fairly happy with the seams, but this one is still off just a little bit. But let's see how much better it looks after it's pressed. You'll be surprised. See what pressing does for it? It just made those points come together so much better. And there we have all of our spools so far. I just love them. Just love them. And like I say, I haven't I don't really know. I might put the black on them and then decide, nope, I don't want that. So we'll see as we go. That's our first block, guys. That is your spool block. And you did it. I hope you did it. You can do it. Just go back to the beginning for the measurements. And I want to tell you, if you happen to sew these end pieces upside down, it's no big deal. Just turn them the right way. I've done it twice. I don't know how you get mixed up, but when I flipped them over, I sewed it the wrong way. So, but you can do it. You just, and like I say, if you get a big pattern that makes a 10 or 12, 14-inch block, you can do it because you know how. And I'm proud of you for trying. All right, this is our spool block. Next week, get ready, and we're going to do Arkansas Traveler Square. You see, it's a modified spool block. It's different. But it only has 2 fabrics, but it's sewn entirely different. That's going to be next week. So thank you for watching the spool block. I had so much fun doing this, and I hope you did too. God bless.